Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Revamped Founder. In this episode, we have Pierre-Gilles Leymarie joining us. So, without any further delay, let's get started. Hey Pierre, how are you?
I'm good. And you?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine. So, can you just give a little introduction of yourself to the audience?
Yes. So my name is Pierre. I'm from France. I'm 28 and I'm a software engineer. And as you said, a few years ago, I really wanted to build something. And this is where Gladys Assistant was born. So just to introduce a bit what Gladys Assistant is, it's software that allows you to control things in your house. So it's a smart home program and it lets you control anything like lights, music, and basically any connected object in your home. And then you can build automation around connected text in your home. Like if you want to wake up with nice music, you want to wake up with the coffee ready, you want to turn off everything when you leave the house, you can do this with Gladys. So I built this a few years ago, and I'm still working actively on it.
My next question was about to be like, what led to creating Gladys? Why did you
Yes.
make it?
So at the time, I was still a student in engineering school in France, and so my parents they bought me a Raspberry Pi. I don't know if you know what's a Raspberry
Yeah,
Pi,
yeah.
but it's a small computer that's cost that's really cheap. At least it was really cheap at the time. Maybe it's a bit more expensive now with the shortage. But
Yeah.
so it's my parents bought me this small computer, and I didn't know really what to do with it. And there are so many articles on the internet like explaining how to connect, uh, like I don't know, a connected power plug or lights. And so I thought, oh, maybe I should build something around home automation, and this is what led to the first prototype of Gladys. At the time was really basic, but then it evolved to a really big software that many people use. And yeah, now it's a big software, and it's no longer just a student project.
Yeah, I've used the Raspberry Pi. It's a really great device. And so this Gladys was in the making since you're a child, basically.
A child, like more like a student. I was like 20 years old at the time.
Ah, all right. So you must be in uni
Yes,
like that.
university. Yeah.
So what are your future plans for Gladys? Can you shed some light on that?
So I'm still working on developing the product even more. So, there are so many different appliances you can buy for your house, so many brands of lights, so many brands of sensors, and we are not compatible. Like the software Gladys is not compatible with everything on the market. So, of course, my goal is to expand the range of compatibility that we have currently. So a huge part of what I'm doing on day-to-day basis is um, like bringing more compatibility to Gladys, so that the software can be used by even more people. So this is the first part, and then I'm always trying to work on the UI on the program so that it can answer more use cases. Um, to give a few examples, like for example, right now, so many people with the energy crisis in Europe, they want to
Yeah,
monitor like their electricity bills because
yeah,
it's super expensive. And so I'm building like a tool in Glady that will synchronize your electricity provider with Glady so you can see how much electricity you paid this month, this day, so you can better monitor it. So many kinds of different features are asked by the community, and every day I'm trying to improve those features, and of course communicate on them so I can reach more people and get new clients.
Yeah. All right. That's very good. So let's say that I want to start using Glady. So what will be the process for that? Like, how can I get into it and start using it?
Um, so we didn't talk about the open source part of Glady, but Glady is an open source program, meaning that I don't sell any hardware. Like it's not consumer. It's not directly like for end users. So you can't go to a supermarket and buy something that's Gladys compatible. You need a bit
Mm-hmm.
of tech. And so you need to first have a computer. It can be Raspberry Pi, it can be a server at home, a NAS, anything where you can
Mm-hmm.
install Gladys on it. So you will go to gladysassistant.com and then you have the information how to install Gladys on Raspberry Pi. Is very easy. You have an image to download and then you can clone it on the Raspberry Pi. And
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, on any server you can install Gladys with Docker. There are many ways of installing Gladys, but Gladys is really for tech people for now. You need to be a bit
Yeah.
aware of how to install that kind of software. It's not for everyone.
Yeah. So in the future, do you think that you will sell Raspberry Pi on the platform only because it will make it
Uh,
more accessible?
we already recommend some devices and make
Yeah.
money out of the recommendation. It's just some
Mm-hmm.
affiliation program, like very basic. And I don't think in the near future that I will sell some hardware because it's a real job to sell devices. You know, like you need to have an
Yeah.
inventory, sell it under the, like if people are unhappy, you need to, yeah, get the hardware
Yeah. It's
back,
not an easy
fix
task.
it. Yeah, it's so many tasks and it's not really what I'm good at. Like I'm a software engineer, so I know how to build software, but really selling stuff is not my thing. So I don't think that I would go in the hardware business in the coming years. Maybe on the very long term, I will one day like build like a Gladys box that you can buy and just plug it at home, but not for
Yeah.
now.
Oh. Yeah. The Gladys box think uh, pretty good.
Yeah, but it's not. I think for now, I still have a lot of growth possible in this market without
Yeah.
changing
Yeah.
how I work. But if one day I don't know what to do, maybe yes, a Gladys box can be a good idea.
Hmm. So like, why did you decide to make Gladys open source? I mean, because can't
So
you?
at
Yeah.
um so when I built Gladys, at first it was just, as I told you, like a student project. So
Yeah.
at the time, I had even no idea that I wanted to build a software. Like I was just like sharing some scripts on
Mm-hmm.
my website, and people started asking like, maybe can you share more? Like, can you share a full software that takes all your scripts, all your pieces of code, and that does everything in one piece of hardware of software? And so I built Gladys. It was completely open source, and even at the time, I had no like goal of making money out of it. It was really just a side project.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where like the open source part comes from. And I think even now, like the open source part is strange because uh, you know your house, you don't want your data to be uh, yeah, publicly accessible. Like some people are afraid to put this kind of data into cloud. They don't want
Yeah.
like the government or a third party company knowing exactly what they are doing, like leaving the house, entering back, seeing the
Yeah.
cameras. And so I built the whole uh, yeah, identity of Gladys of being privacy first. And this is a
Mm-hmm.
huge part of Gladys is that the code that you run at home, you can inspect it, you can modify it, and you can know exactly where your data is stored. So that's a big part. And many people join Gladys because they want something that's self-hosted at home and that don't share their data.
Mm, yeah. That's a good point. what are some things which you think are very important to for someone to know who is planning on building an open source project, like a very large scale open source?
Yeah, I would recommend to like to share as much as you are doing so that people can work with you on your journey. Like being public and transparent on the code part and what you are doing is very important because otherwise it's impossible for someone like on the outside to join you uh, build these projects because the big advantage of being open source is that you can have a whole community helping you build the software, and being very transparent is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like having good documentation, a clear process, a good README in your GitHub repository is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Like in general, in any project, marketing and communication is key. Like if you work hard but you don't advertise what you are doing, it's meaningless. So yes, communication and spending time talking to like potential developers, contributors.
Yeah. Is there any like competitor that is?
Do we have competitors?
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you have any
yes,
competitor? No.
yes, there are many of them. Like there are, of course, like non-open source competitors, but those are not really competitors to me because it's really different
Yeah.
markets. And then
Yeah.
you have lots of different open source smart home software. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
good because it means there's a real market for it and people
Yeah.
want those kind of solutions. But
Yeah.
I think it's positive competition because everyone's trying to be the best software in the market,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just net positive in my opinion. So I'm not really focused on what the competition is doing. It's just it means there is a market.
Yeah. Great. So, what is the one big lesson that you have learned till now while building Gladys?
One big lesson would be that it takes time.
Yeah.
I'm not working full time on Gladys. I've at most been working part time on it because
Yeah.
on the side I'm still a software engineer and doing freelance job for companies.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's been taking lots of time. Like I started Gladys when I was in my 20s, so it's been like eight years maybe. But
Mm-hmm.
I haven't worked like full time on it, so it's just a few years in reality. But every step um, takes a lot of time, and people
Yeah.
for that kind of software that you install at home for like the next 10 years, you need to be confident that the software like will be still there and still working in 10 years. So being an old software is actually good in this kind of market, and people trust things that have been around for a long time. So so it takes time. Yeah, that's one big lesson.
Yeah. It does actually take time to build something successful. Indeed.
Yes.
So, I read that you're a digital nomad, right?
Yeah, you were talking about the digital nomadism.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yes, like when I left my school, after university, um, I had a choice. Like I was working in a tech startup in Paris,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted me to stay in the startup like full time, living in Paris. But
Yeah.
I wasn't really interested in living directly like I would say the adult life, like staying in a fixed place and not seeing the world. And I was always like I always loved traveling, and so as I wanted to like work more on Gladys and travel at the same time, I was thinking maybe I should travel and work at the same time. And we could think that traveling is expensive and it's more expensive to travel than to stay at home, but actually coming from Paris, which is an expensive city, and France, which is an expensive country, in fact, like traveling to cheaper countries is actually a way to save money. So it's actually a way to fund my development while being in cheap countries. But so that's what I did. I've been to many countries in Asia. I've been to India as well.
Oh,
Yeah, I've been to many places in Asia.
when did you come to India and which year?
I think it was three years ago in 2019, I think. Yes, 2019. I did one month, like 1 month in Delhi, a bit in Mumbai, and that's it. I
Oh,
did like the basic, like Taj Mahal and
yeah.
Agra, Jaipur, that kind of places.
Must have been a good experience.
India,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really different country from what I've seen. Lots of people, lots of new things, food to discover. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. So like, what are some industries that you follow and you're personally you're interested in? Some other
Over
industries.
industries,
Yeah. As in just
you
any
mean
industry. Yeah.
over than the tech industry?
Yeah.
No, I'm mostly
Or
interested
or
in the
in tech only.
yeah or intake only. Um, I I'm kind of interested of what the cloud providers are doing. Like I don't know if you
Yeah.
follow a bit like Cloudflare, the company.
Yes, yes, yes. Very.
I think they are doing some crazy stuff, trying to break a bit the markets. Like, Amazon AWS is a bit expensive. Cloudflare is trying
Yes,
to
yes.
reduce those costs by bringing new product like Air2, like the
Yeah.
S3 competitor. And I think it's a good thing in this page. So I'm watching a lot what's happening in this industry. And I'm really like a fan of what Cloudflare they are doing, all the product they built, like workers, Air2, all those products are very interesting and very tech driven. Like
Mhm.
for me, like AWS, there are lots of things that are uh, just they did it a very basic way. Like for example, Lambda, the functions,
Mhm.
they just spin off an environment for a few seconds, but it's not really like there is a cold start problem and there are many problems. And I think Cloudflare with workers, they removed all those problems with a well thought piece of engineering. I think I'm really interested of what's going on in this space.
Yeah. I was also reading about this the other day. Good thing.
Mm.
So like this might be a pretty out of the box question, but like there are a lot of different ways in which people view success. What does like success mean to you? When will you consider Gladys a success? Like in the
Um,
future?
uh, do I consider Gladys a success and what's success for me? That's the question.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Um, so like for me, success would be a few things um, like being used. Like if you build something, you want your piece to be used by as many people as possible. So helping
Mm-hmm.
people achieve what they want to do. So that's one part of success. And the other part is being able to live out to live out of it, so make money out of this project.
Mm-hmm.
And so on this side, I think I consider Gladys a success, at least on the usage part, because I have so many good feedbacks about Gladys. On the money part, I've had some up and downs in this project, like always. And
Mm-hmm.
like at the beginning, I had a different business model as now, but was maybe bringing more revenue. And for me, it was a huge success at the time. But then
Mm-hmm.
I started another business model and like the growth rate was not as good as I expected it. So I still have mixed feelings on if it is a success or not. Trying to improve, change the variables, like if it's the price, is it the offering? Should I like change how it works? And so I'm still trying to figure things out with the Gladys Pay plan. So for me, it's not complete success on the revenue part yet, but I'm confident that with proper changes, one day it will perfectly work. Also, like there are so many things that you can't control. Like for example, the market you are in is very important. Like you can build something average in an exploding market and have so many customers because it's just an exploding market. And sometimes when you are stuck in a market that's just slowing down or like not moving, like a bit like home automation right now because there are so many shortage, with COVID, shortage of chips. Right now, like if you want to buy a Raspberry Pi, it's simply impossible and very expensive. So it limits a bit my growth right now. And so I think by just staying long term in this market, trying things, uh, at some point, uh, I'm convinced that I will get some crazy growth, but can't know where. That's the problem.
Yeah. Like if you were to start working Gladys again today, what is the one thing that you will do differently? Like which you think like you can change if you were able to go back in the past?
I don't know if really I have regrets on things. Like you can't know in advance what the future is gonna bring.
Yeah.
And I think I'm pretty happy with the choices I made on Gladys in the past years.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I will change things looking backward. Yeah, I think like yeah. No, I think I would do the same. Maybe
Yeah.
I think that in when building stuff, like nobody really knows what they are doing. You try things, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it's fine. And I think I kept trying, and that's what brings me like the experience I have now. But I don't. I think the process you need to experience. You need to do failures at some point. So it's not really a problem to fail, and if I go back in time, I will do the same failure at some point just to be at the same point of development. Yes.
Yeah. That's a pretty good answer. So, like my last question would be, what message would you like to give to all the young builders who are just starting out in the journey?
I would say just try things, like build the things as fast as possible. Avoid spending times on useless things, like I don't know, creating a company, creating like spending time on a logo, buying a domain, that kind of stuff is useless. Like to give an example on Gladys, for like 2 years, the first 2 years, I didn't even have a domain name. Like I had like a subdomain that was free on my hosting provider that was free as well because I wanted to spend like €0 because I was a student and didn't have any money. So like I think so many people they put the wrong thing first, like trying to get a logo, get a company without doing any revenue. I say this is the second step, like just build and then see what works. And then when you
Yeah.
make money, you can create your company, you can pay a designer for the logo. Same for the logo, like Gladys didn't have a logo until like a few years ago when I paid the guy to do the logo. But for like the first 3 or 4 years, I didn't have a logo. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Like you have to create a bat and then you can focus on these things.
Yes, exactly. You need to focus on your product, what you are solving, and talking to users. That's all.
Yeah. So that's it from my side. Is there something you would like to add?
Thank you for this interview, and it was nice chatting with you.
Same here. So thank you for joining. I really enjoyed.
Thank